So I want to welcome right now 𝘥 Bronstein on the channel right now. He's got an absolutely incredible story. I'd call it a rock star story. He reached out to me and let me know that he actually implemented, or actually was very instrumental in actually changing a rule for Nevada when it comes to the Medigap supplement plan. I wanted to bring him on this channel to introduce him to everybody, but also kind of let him tell his story of what he did, because I wouldn't even know exactly what steps to go about in order to get something like this changed. And I was just absolutely very, very impressed with what 𝘥 did, and just want to let everybody know exactly that he was the guy that actually was very instrumental in doing this. Kind of let him kind of get credit for this as well, because this was really an absolute rock star moment. And I just had a chance to discuss a little bit with 𝘥, about this rule just briefly, and it's actually really, really interesting, some of the dynamics behind it. But again, here's 𝘥 Bronstein. I guess the first question I want to ask you, 𝘥, is this: what made you decide that you wanted to go ahead and tackle something like this? What was the story behind? Because there's always a story behind why somebody decided to go down this road.
Well, I've been in insurance forever. Licensed in 1977 and got into Medicare in the mid-90s. When Obamacare was passed, I realized that health insurance was not the way to go, at least not in California where I was living. And Medicare was. So I started doing Medicare using telemarketed leads, using my own telemarketer. By the way, for everybody to know, I'm getting feedback on my voice. So if I stutter, that's why. At any rate, so California has had the birthday rule. I got to do this. Good. This way I don't have to hear myself. Okay. California has had the birthday rule for probably 20 some odd years. And what the birthday rule says is, on your birthday, you have 60 days to change your company. You can go from an F to G, G to N. You can't go up the chain, but you can change your company, no medical questions. And it's obviously very important, because you get some companies that do the shuffle. I won't even mention names, but everybody knows. They'll close the book of business. They'll start a new company. The people who can move do. The people with carpal tunnel are screwed. They can't go anywhere. So I've been selling insurance in California a long time and using this birthday rule to move people. Oregon adopted it, and I may be wrong, but I think it was in 2010, and immediately directed telemarketing into Oregon, and it was like shooting ducks in a barrel, or fish in a barrel. People are not healthy, but I could save them a ton of money. So now move forward, 5.5 years ago, I come to Nevada to get away from California traffic and taxes and all sorts of the bad things that go with a really beautiful state. There's no Medicare.
Let me stop you real quick, 𝘥. For those that maybe are not familiar with these birthday rules, or maybe kind of getting new into the industry, and they're saying to themselves, "What is this birthday rule? What are they talking about?" Explain maybe a little bit with the commission side, because that's always the biggest concern for. Obviously, we're looking at both sides. We're looking obviously the consumer, and then we're also looking at the sales agent as well. How does California and how does Oregon treat that for the sales agent when it comes to the commission side,
okay, and
for the birthday rule?
Very good question, and very important. It's an annual open enrollment. Just like when you turn 65, it's open enrollment. Every year you have the opportunity to change your company. You can go to, and I hate this term, a lesser plan, or I call it the plan with more out of pocket, without medical questions. California gives you 60 days. Oregon gives you 30 days. And now in Nevada, we have a 60-day window. Because it's open enrollment, it does not affect commissions at all. It's full commission. Guaranteed issue, as everybody knows, is if they pay you $25, consider yourself lucky. This is full commission. Most of my business is, I think, done under the birthday rule in Oregon and California. And also, the cool thing from an agent standpoint, it gives you a reason every year to talk to your client. I send out a birthday card. Happy birthday. It's time to review your plan. There's no medical questions.
Right.
I get response. And I don't have to worry about the 6-year, we run out of commission. I don't care how healthy or not healthy you are. I can move you around every year if I want. And no company stays number one every year.
Correct.
And Greg, let me ask you a question, because you do a lot of med subs. Do you try to outguess the potential rate increases?
So that's a great question. Just like you said, that there's really no guarantee as far as timing it correctly. So I mean, a lot of times I look at mutual companies in particular to try to maybe keep the cost down a little bit. I look at kind of the trends of what insurance companies are actually doing, and I'm looking at the guaranteed issue side as well. I mean, several years ago, there was a company that came out that did very good on the rate side. But I noticed that they were taking in their underwriting a lot more unhealthy people than other companies out there. So I was telling our agents, telling other agents as well, be very, very careful of this company, because they've lowered their rates, but they're also at the end of the day taking people on an underwritten status that no other company would actually take. So it was very attractive for agents to start selling the open enrollment turning 65, a lower rate than some of the other companies out there. But I saw that as a potential problem down the road for that salesperson, having put that client in that company and seeing that impact of that rate down the road. So we would only use them in a situation where it was kind of the last resort, where they could not medically qualify anywhere else, but they could qualify with this company. I mean, going back many, many years ago, I mean, there was a company out there I won't name that was taking individuals with COPD. Not only COPD, but that person could actually still be smoking and still get go through underwriting with that company and get a policy. And so that was really unfair to those individuals that were being put as an open enrollment with that company, because I could see the trend happening where that was going to be a problem. So I'm always looking at the different companies, seeing exactly how are they doing on the underwriting. Are they getting a little bit more relaxed to bring more people in? If they're doing that, then that could also potentially affect the rates down the road for that individual. And again, just like you said, no company is really immune to that, because again, it's I always ask people, what's the number one reason insurance companies around? It's to make money. It's and that's the number one reason. So you have to look at even the best companies out there. Their initial goal is to make money. So you have to be you have to look every single year as far as what the companies are actually doing.
And the birthday rule means you can safely use the lowest price carrier, because obviously Plan G is Plan G is Plan G, and not worry, because next year we can move somebody regardless of their health. It makes you have to be smart. And I mean, Greg, you have to be smart, because you're not dealing with birthday rule. You've got to, your clients have to know there's going to be rate increases, and you do the best you can for this year.
Sure.
I can be an idiot because I can move somebody next year if the rate gets too high. And I look forward to that, because I start the 6-year cycle again.
Now, and that's a great point. That's a great thing for salespeople, particularly. Not only are you helping your customer out, but you're resetting that clock too for that individual. Obviously, if the rate kind of stays a little bit stable. Now, in Oregon and also in California, and so our listeners understand this, they can't go up, correct? So if they had a Plan G, they couldn't go up to a Plan F, even if they had Medicare prior to 2020. They can only go same to same or down. Is that correct?
That's how the law reads. There's one company that will allow you go up the chain,
Okay.
But the rates are high to begin with, generally speaking.
Okay, so it doesn't even behoove somebody to do that then.
Right, but why would somebody want to go up? They're sick.
Correct.
But
Correct.
G has always been, or at least in the last X number of years, a better value than F anyway. I don't write F typically. And Plan N is a better value than any of them.
Correct. I actually just shot a video today on the Plan N and why that is, I believe, the new Plan G to Medicare as far as keeping costs down. And we've looked at that very, very closely over the last 2 years, kind of really looked at the rates and how stable they've been on the Plan N versus the Plan G, and the fact that excess charges are really a moot point now. And even the premium difference between Plan G and Plan N? Because I looked at that when I was selling between the F and the G. That's when I started selling the G primarily to everybody, because that difference of $30, $40 made up for that Part B deductible. And so now, as I'm kind of looking at the premiums are getting to that point between G and N right now, they're about $25 to $30 on average between the two. So, financially, it's making a lot more sense for people to go down the road of the Plan N, especially in states like that are not having this birthday rule. So let me ask you, what drove you to actually come to Nevada and actually attempt to do this? Because obviously this was something that took a lot of time. What was the story behind it that made you want to do this?
Well,
Was
first of
there
all,
a client, or
well,
was there a particular client that kind of that was the compelling story? What was the reason behind it?
like every agent, I hate underwriting. It's just a pain in the neck.
Correct.
But it's a necessary evil. When I first came here, I met a guy who had stage 3 kidney disease. He's had it for 20 years, no medication, no treatment. It's never going to get worse, but he's got kidney disease. There's not a company that'll take him. He was paying $300 a month for Plan F. If he was in California, I could have gotten him for less than $200. I didn't like, it just kills me when a client gets stuck and can't do anything. So background, in 2010, I ran for insurance commissioner of California. 370,000 votes. And if I had 4 million more, I would have had to move to Sacramento. So I dodged that bullet. When I got here, well, how am I going to fix this? I filed as a libertarian to run for state senate. I eventually dropped out of the Libertarian Party and endorsed the Republican who won by 28 votes. But I met with him first and said, this is why I'm running. It's only to get this law changed. And I figured I'll get some notoriety, maybe I'll get some business out of it. Then I also met with my assemblywoman who was from California, not an insurance agent, but she understood all this. She's the one that brought the bill to the assembly 2 years later. They meet every 2 years.
Okay.
I testified in front of a Zoom meeting. I did a rate comparison between Las Vegas and Oakland, almost identical demographics, and the prices were the same. So the birthday rule did not have a negative effect. And she was wonderful. It passed her committee. It passed the assembly 41-1. It passed the Senate 20-0. And the governor signed it into law, and it's effective January 1st. Of course, every insurance agent and the insurance association, the Health Insurance Association, they're taking full credit for this. I don't exist. The smaller companies may have a problem because they'll panic, as they did in Oregon. But it'll all stabilize. And there's 100,000 people in Nevada, as I understand it, on Medicare supplements. The bulk of them live in rural parts of the state where there's no Medicare Advantage alternative. So whether I get notoriety, whether I write business out of it or not many of us can say they've done what I just did. I'm very proud of myself.
And you should be. That's absolutely, I mean, when you reached out to me and told me, I said, you know what? I got to talk to Rick. I got to get this message out, because you are 100% correct. There are places. I mean, I've got a mom that's almost 80 years old that's in a Medigap supplement plan that she can't. She lives in Florida, so she cannot obviously move. She's got too many health issues in order to do that. And so, when we're looking more specifically at some of these rural areas that they can't do anything, they can't switch to a Medicare Advantage plan if the rates get too high. So, I mean, they're almost stuck having to pay this bill, and it's unfair, obviously, if the insurance company is making a very big profit off of that. So, I mean, you obviously, what you've done right now is going to not just impact people right now, but it's going to impact future people down the road, generations down the road that will now benefit from this. So let me ask you this. How do you think this is going to affect the rest of the industry? Because now we've got California, we've got Oregon, we've got Nevada. Do you think this will be something that will steamroll to more companies, more states doing that? I've heard that Idaho is in the process of moving that way. I think you mentioned that Illinois, you've heard some rumors about that. How do you think that's going to impact other states now?
Well, I'd love to see every state adopt it, but the federal government can't do it. I don't think they can. I'm not sure if it's constitutional, although that's never stopped them before.
Sure.
States can do it. And it makes a huge difference in people's lives. And I want to mention, and I know you fit in the second category of agents. Category number one are people that are in for the money. I want to write 5 policies on every person. That's my goal. Then there's the other agent that say, I want to do what's best for my clients because that's how I'll make money.
Sure.
And I know you fit in the second category. And I've always held myself out as being as, I don't want to say as ethical as possible, because either you are or you aren't. And I've never recommended anything for anybody that I wouldn't do in the same situation. 80% of my book is Plan N. I know I look 30, but I got on Medicare a couple years ago. I have Plan N.
Sure.
I was, and this is the story I tell people. And I explain that it's only office visits that are $20. It's not chemo. It's not PT. It's just an office visit. And it doesn't even mean it's not a charge if it's an office visit, a Zoom meeting. That's not an office visit. There's no $20 copay for that. So I'm happy to see my doctor.
So the televisits or the teledoc visits are not considered office visits. Is that what you're saying?
So there's no $20 copay.
Correct. And then also the individual has to meet the $233 Part B deductible before they even actually have to pay that $20 copay. And I know it wouldn't take very long to do that, but obviously somebody that's not going to the doctor very often, they might not ever even see that $20 copay. They might see it through maybe a little bit of the Part B deductible. And so, I mean, I call the Plan N now the now plan for the future. That's what I'm calling the Plan N.
And it's interesting that 80% of my clients are Plan N. I said Plan N in 2010 was great. People say, well, what about hospital? What about this? And by the way, I have read your book once. Fantastic book.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I've got to read it 2 and 3 times because I'm going to pick something up every time. And I just want to let you know that I was thinking about you. That's why I want to talk to you. Somebody said that was a good thing to say. But I was in the hospital. I had Delta.
Okay.
So I can tell the story. I tell people I was in the hospital 15 days with Delta. I had home care. I had oxygen. I'm still in outpatient therapy. And I asked them the question, how much do you think that cost? And the answer is Medicare and the supplement picked up 100%.
Beautiful.
And as you said, if you can tell the story, it helps a lot.
Well, one of the most powerful things, obviously, just in sales in general, is not just offering something that helps somebody else out, but telling those stories, because stories are not only emotional, they're real. And that's really the key thing, is making sure that you're telling something that's a real story. I'd always, whenever I sold Medicare supplements, I'd always bring my mom and my dad in the picture because they both had different plans. My dad got into Medicare well before I even got into the business. And so he did not have the proper coverage that he should have. And that's actually kind of what drove me into the business, was the fact that my mom was coming up and I'm like, let me take a look at the insurance right now. And that's kind of, I started getting interested in Medicare. My mom's now almost 80 years old. So we're going back like 15 years. That's what kind of really got me into the business. And so she's in the right plan now. She doesn't have to worry about anything when it comes down to her expense. But I talk about some of these things. I remember the first time my mom went into the hospital, she said, Greg, I wonder what the bill is going to be like when I get out of here. I said, Mom, you have the Plan F, because at that time that was the only thing that was available in the state of Florida.
Right.
I said, you have the Plan F. You're not going to pay anything. She goes, I get it, Greg. You're an insurance, but I'm sure I'll get a little bill here. I go, Mom, nothing, zero. And so, now fast forward, 15 years later, my mom has had that security of not. So we play such a vital role in people's lives, either positively or negatively, depending on the agent that's talking to them. So that's, my mission. And obviously, where we kind of, we're kind of very similar, is making sure that that individual is given the proper information and they're educated on their options, and then the stories that come about that. So, hey, when I'm talking to somebody about a Medigap supplement, say versus a Medicare Advantage plan, hey, let me ask you a question. How do you feel about prior authorizations? Is that something that you're okay with? And, some people are okay with it. Some people are okay with prior authorization. Some people are okay with referrals. And that, that might lead that person down the needs for that type of insurance, but you've educated them on exactly what the best fit is for them versus somebody's like, no, I don't want that. What are my options? So that's, kind of coming from that, from that standpoint that it's all about them. It's all about making sure. And once you start doing that, it just starts, the universe, I think, just starts sending you people to help. Referrals start coming out of the woodwork. I remember I told this story before, but I had this was many, many years ago. I had a financial advisor on the phone that was looking at the Plan F at that time. And I said, hey, has anybody told you about the Plan G? And he said, no, what is that? And so I sat down and broke down the number. He said, Greg, I got all these agents that are calling me and they all want to sell me the Plan F. Nobody's ever done this. And so not only did I help sign up him and his wife, but from that, I call it the 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon. It started going to all these other financial advisors. And at this time right now, I still have 3 separate companies in Texas that actually send me business out of the blue with their clients from that one individual many, many years ago. It's almost on a monthly basis. They reach out to me and say, hey, Greg, I've got a client that's going on a Medicare. We like to set up a call. I have my agents, talk to them and try to help them out with that. But no, it's always doing the right thing for that person. And those that aren't doing the right thing, I say, won't be in the business for long.
No,
those that are doing the right
I hope
thing
they'll stay in the business a long time, because that's how we build our book.
Yeah, that's
correcting other agent mistakes.
Well, in cases where obviously you've got the birthday rule, which is huge, those you can sometimes fix some of those mistakes. But obviously there are some places that that unfortunately that mistake can't be fixed if they didn't do it during an open enrollment or something like that. So
I talked to this nice lady. She has Plan F.
Mm-hmm.
And she's with a high-priced company. When she was 65, I'm sure it was not a high-priced company. And I ran some numbers. She never goes to the doctor. Plan N would save her almost $2,000 a year. And that's an anomaly, but you'll see that occasionally, that big a difference. Did the other agent make a mistake? Yeah, you know what his mistake was? Not following through.
Bingo, correct. I think one of the biggest, I was asked by a big insurance company this year to kind of write in their newsletter about what's one of the biggest takeaways for me this year. And one of the biggest takeaways for me was, hey, always make sure that you're taking care of your customers. And we've done actually a much better job of that this year, is that so many people are focused on the front door and they're not looking at what's going out the back door. And it takes 3 times more amount of money to actually gain a new client than keep an older one. So it's always making sure you're protecting that back door and not having people walking out of it so focused on the front door. I think that's what's going to keep us as agents very, very successful, is not just getting the new clients, but also making sure that the older ones are protected. So again,
that's how you get referrals. And it's so much easier to write insurance if you get a referral. And my line is, I talk to people about the birthday rule. I said, personally, I hope this isn't true, but if you had a kidney hanging out of your body and it's your birthday, I can change your plan, because it's literally that easy to do it. You can be an idiot like me and still write insurance. It's perfect.
So let me ask you, somebody that was in a state, let's say that was looking to try to do something like what you did, what would be the first thing for them to do? Because I would have no clue. I live in Florida. What would I do if I wanted to change that in Florida? What would be the first steps for me? I know you had a connection with but
if you call your local assembly person, state legislature, you're going to get that person on the phone? Probably not, because you're in a big state. Sure. Nevada has 3 million people. It's not that hard to get through to a local legislator. But that's where I started. I talked to the state senator that I ran against,
Sure.
who still kind of PO'd at me because I took 1,100 votes away and he thinks that we're from him. He still won. It was okay. My assemblywoman was so open to this. She was great. We disagree on everything politically, except we both care about people. She's been to the house. She came over here for my mother-in-law's 95th birthday because she lives here.
Oh, good.
And nice lady. And she did such a great job. She saw the need.
Yep.
And went after it. The state senator, Republican, he was going to bring a similar bill, and it's a good thing he didn't. He got nothing through a very biased legislature. So go after the right people. If I'm in Florida, I probably be talking to a Republican. If I'm in Texas, I'll talk to a Republican. If I'm in, I don't know, a blue state, Vermont,
Sure. Yep.
probably talk to a Democrat. But that's what you do. You talk to a legislator in the state, get them to see the problem. The very smart guy said, sell the problem, not the solution. I can't remember who that is.
I think
but
I
that's
know.
what you do. You're
Yeah.
selling the problem. The problem is your people are paying too much.
Correct. And then obviously you have I mean, when you first did this, I mean, you're telling the story behind it as well, based on your clients and what you actually saw from them. And then obviously now you're on Medicare, so you're able to further, push that story so that other people can understand how that not just affected your clients, but now how that it could affect you as well. So now it's keeping things level for you as well, which is also a key story.
My wife and I are both in the same Plan N with a company that almost nobody's ever heard of. I don't care. They all pay the bills just as fast.
Correct.
If their rates go up because of the birthday rule or anything else, I'll go to company B. When company B goes up, I'll go to company C. I'll play the same game the insurance companies play.
And now obviously that's now signed in law starting on January 1st, correct?
Correct.
So starting on January 1st at this point right now, it's now in Nevada. At that point, somebody could move on their birthday, correct? So if I was born in March, then I can apply. How soon can I apply before, say, March 1st?
Okay, the policy has to be effective after your birthday. It's silent as to how long you have for an effective date. You can apply 30 days before and up to 60 days after.
Okay, so
same thing as California.
So let's say, it's obviously, new agents that are coming in. My birthday is March the 25th. And so how soon can I apply for this birthday?
30 days before will be February 25th.
Okay, so they're going exactly by that day then, correct? Okay.
You can apply for that date. It can be effective April 1st because it has to be after your birthday. Or as late as April, May, depending on 30 or 31 days, maybe May 24th for June 1st.
Gotcha.
My life is so much easier. I focus on my existing clients more so than trying to get new business.
And that's, you just mentioned it earlier, how it's so tough, especially for new agents that are coming in when you're dealing with all this underwriting and you're dealing with maybe thinking that you can get somebody through and having their hopes up that, hey, I can save this money. Everything looked great. There's something they might not have told you that they didn't think was a big deal. They weren't lying necessarily. There was something they forgot. And all of a sudden now, I had this happen before. And this is, being that individual, like you just said earlier, that's there to help other people out. This was many, many years ago. A company got really big into the Medigap supplement market. And, we were helping, some of our clients underwrite through to them. And then they started rescinding some of our customers. And I literally went to that company and created a huge fit, a huge ripple. And not only did they not rescind those policies, they kind of changed their rules about it. But one of them was as simple as the lady didn't know that she had atrial fibrillation. She didn't know that she had that. And she honestly answered that, and she went back to her doctor after they rescinded it. And the doctor said, no, you do have atrial fibrillation. It's just, it's under control right now. I haven't put you on any medication, but there will be probably a time when I'm going to have to do that, just kind of monitoring you. Well, she really was actually kind of floored because she just maybe wasn't listening because she wasn't taking some of that medication or something like that. So, a lot of times, the clients are not necessarily, giving false, testimony, if you want to call it. They're answering it what they think is the right way, and had something like that happen, but is able to change that with that company. But again, with the birthday rule, I don't have to worry about that anymore. Now I can move that person, and that's just a great, great thing that kudos to you for doing something like that and stepping up, because again, that took a lot of your time as well. So again, for you to actually have stepped up to do that and helped out the state of Nevada. I mean, it brings me great joy to put this out there, letting everybody know that you were the one that was instrumental, kind of your background of what you actually did. And again, everybody in Nevada should be absolutely thrilled with what happened. And again, I want you to get all the credit for this. I'm going to make sure that we post this on several different channels so that you get the credit. People actually also understand how this works, because a lot of people hear the birthday rule, they're getting new in the business, they don't understand exactly what this birthday rule means. A lot of times we start thinking, well, it's guaranteed issue, so that's great that they did a birthday rule, but then I'm not going to get paid for it. So you've kind of debunked a lot of those myths when it comes down to the birthday rule, which is key.
Right. And I just want everybody to know, I still have a telemarketer, and she's great. And I don't know where she's going to be calling. Right now we stopped because everybody's calling. Stay out of Nevada. That's my state. Oregon and California, those are my states. You can do whatever you want elsewhere.
That's Rick's states. Okay, so
that's my state.
I'll tell our marketing company, stay out of Nevada, Oregon, California. I don't know if they're going to listen to me very well, but I'll definitely say Rick said don't do that. But no, I mean, any final thoughts right now, Rick? That you want to kind of leave? Again, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on, and obviously I want to stay in connection with you. But again, I mean, this was an absolute rock star move that you just did. You shook up not only the state of Nevada, but I think that this might reverberate to other states. And this, hopefully other people will be watching this and they'll say, you know what, maybe I can do what Rick did. What would be your final advice to somebody that say, hey, maybe this is what I could do just like Rick. I could be like Rick and make a rock star move, and just kind of like your final kind of closing comments right now.
Well, I actually have two comments.
Perfect.
Let me address the more important one. If somebody wants to be a rock star agent, follow you on YouTube and Facebook and get your book. I've been in the business forever, and I am learning more and more, and a lot of it from you. You're never too old to learn. I may be too old to drink as much as I'd like, but I'm not too old to learn. To other agents, yeah, call your legislator. It's not that big a deal. The assemblywoman I talked to, this was her second term, it's a 2-year term. First time, she just won by, I don't know, thousands of votes. Second time, a few hundred. You don't think that'll be a feather in her cap? And that's how I would talk to the legislature. This is good for everybody in the state, but for you to tell your voters, look what I've done for you. And we all know seniors are the biggest voting bloc.
Sure.
I think that helps everybody. It helps somebody get reelected, but it really helps seniors so much.
And
Just do it.
I mean, so many, especially nowadays, are such a fixed income when it comes down to just trying to watch every penny. And, I always say life happens. Life happens. At the end of the day, there are those that plan so well for the future, but life happens, and something that was not of their control happened. So now their budget is much, much more constrained that maybe wasn't previously. And so it's so important that not only are we looking out for those that are on Medicare, but something like you did, it was just an absolute rock star move. So I mean, everybody in Nevada is in a better spot right now because of what you did and the impact that maybe they won't feel right now, but years down the road, when they do the birthday rule, it all comes back to what you actually did. And I'm glad to be able to kind of get that message out that you did it. But more importantly, I know that you're not wanting all the credit because you're such a servant at heart, making sure that first and foremost, those people were protected, those clients were protected. But again, I want to give you all the credit for it because obviously that was something that I think was just absolutely colossal. And so again, thank you, Rick. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm very happy for the people of Nevada. That's much more important than me getting credit, actually.
No, and when I kind of started mentioning this, some of the comments I got was, hey, you know what, this is going to be guaranteed issue now. So it's not a good thing for salespeople. And so you've literally debunked that myth and showed that, hey, you know what, you can make some of these bold rock star moves. And at the end of the day, protect not only the individual that's on Medicare, but also protect the agent as well, making sure that, hey, you know what, if you're not doing your job and you're not reaching out to your people to help them, then at that point, somebody else like Rick, somebody else like Greg is going to reach out to them and is going to take your business. And guess what? We deserve that business because we're doing the right thing for the other person and you weren't.
That's the greatest final statement you can make.
So, well, thank you. Thank you, Rick. I appreciate your time and, kudos to you for what you did. Love to, obviously stay connected with you. But again, thank you for coming on and look forward to hearing more great things from you.
And I advise every agent, new and old, got to get your book. It's fantastic.
Thanks, Rick. I appreciate it. Have a great rest of your day.
You too.